Welcome to Please Me, the award-winning bilingual sexuality podcast bringing you bold conversations and big clit energy. As a female host in a male-dominated industry, I'm thrilled to announce that Please Me is the #1 ranked sexuality podcast in the USA and worldwide, covering topics on sexual health, intimacy, and sexual empowerment. I'm Eve, your host, on a journey from trauma to sexual liberation. Join me and my guests as we dive into conversations around orgasm equality, self-love, body positivity, and essential sex education. Let's reclaim pleasure and close the orgasm gap, one empowering conversation at a time. Today in part 2 with Jordan Wiggins, author of Pink Canary, we focus on super traits, empathy, loyalty, and responsibility, and how these strengths can drive leadership while also keeping women stuck in toxic relationship patterns. Plus, our role play segment, a fan favorite, brings these dynamics to life. Tune in for this powerful continuation. If you're ready to take your pleasure and sexual health seriously, explore the Sexual Longevity Protocol, the private client blueprint for lifelong sexual pleasure, a self-paced course designed to support you long-term. And if you want to start gently, download the 30-day self-pleasure and body reconnection practices, a free daily guide to help you reconnect with your body and build pleasure one day at a time. If you'd like to support the show and keep these conversations around sexual health, intimacy, and pleasure free for everyone, join me on Patreon for ad-free episodes, early releases, and exclusive content. For more education, updates, and deeper insights, subscribe to my Substack newsletter. You can also join the Please Me Health Collective on STC.com, a premier platform for the ethically non-monogamous community, including swingers, polyfolks, and more. Use code 37340 for a free trial and access to my community, plus my free monthly webinars. Follow me on Instagram at Please Me by Eve Creations for more. Please Me is for mature audiences, so sit back, relax, and surrender to the pleasure of Please Me.
Autoimmune disease, breast cancer. So when we are anhedonic, when we don't feel fulfilled, the physiologic, hormonal, like what's actually happening on the cellular level to our neurotransmitters, it's the equivalent of smoking 7 cigarettes a day.
Ladies, let's get personal for a minute. What does your vaginal health routine look like? Because as we mature, our intimate self-care needs an upgrade. If hormone shifts have you feeling dry, less sensitive, or just not quite like yourself, I've got a simple 3-step protocol I'm loving. Every morning I use my lady pump to increase blood flow and wake up the lady bits. And yes, it comes with 3 attachments for all the sensations. Then I apply Shamelessly Aroused by Shameless Care, formulated with sildenafil, the active ingredient used in Viagra, to support stronger arousal, better lubrication, and more responsive orgasms. Pair that with a daily self-love ritual, and you've got a powerful daytime combo. At night, I use Parlor Games estrogen and progesterone creams to support healthy hormone levels and resilient vaginal tissue. Fewer oops moments when I sneeze, and way more confidence when intimacy calls. Dryness, decreased sensitivity, frequent UTIs, incontinence, low blood flow? These 3 upgrades can be a total game changer, because intimate health isn't indulgent, it's essential. And trust me, you'll feel the difference.
How you can be a happier person, like generally, and the answer was to be a bitch or something like that, you know? And I was like, what the heck? You know, I hate that word, first of all. Some people have, you know, changed it and love it. But I don't like to be referred to that way. But at the same time, I understand the point. It's like, no, you have to, you know, center yourself. You have to be able to say no. You have to be able to create boundaries, right? And if we're always pleasing other people, we're giving all of ourselves away constantly, and that can lead to disease, which is what you're talking about. So I would love for you to jump in and talk about all of that.
It's, yeah, you're spot on, because that's exactly what happens. And so early in my career, I was working with the women that were already diagnosed with the autoimmune disease. They already were breast endometrial cancer survivors. And then we were sort of working backwards. But then now, since I've been talking about the pleasure stuff and having those women take a super trait quiz or ask, can you say no? Seeing if they fit that archetype, then I'm helping intervene sooner, right? Like before the diagnosis. And that's what makes me think that I'm really doing my job in prevention, right?
Yes.
And preventing divorce, preventing a cancer diagnosis. But the interesting part, so imagine we have a high achieving woman with trauma who has learned that she needs to keep other people happy to feel safe. And she has been overgiving and people pleasing for every year, like every that she's been on this planet for decades. And then we are telling her in Instagram reels and like these short little snippets kind of how we interact nowadays with these shorter and shorter attention spans. We're telling her, just say no, set boundaries, like just these high level things. But to her, with her pleasure centers off and the trauma that she has experienced, by saying no or by centering herself, it literally feels impossible to her. It feels like, her whole world is going to collapse because she doesn't know how to do that reversal. And she's literally learned and been reinforced the opposite her whole life. So she almost feels more broken, more shame around like, why can't I just get this right? Or why is this so hard for me? Or why do I have success in all these other areas? But when it comes to saying no or focusing on myself, she doesn't even know where to start because she's literally blocked at the most basic brainstem. Like her amygdala thinks that saying no, like there's such a fear response in her. So really raising that awareness of this was by design, and it's by design, generally speaking, right? If we're generalizing, for women to be this way, to be caring and overgiving. And then, in a patriarchal society, it gives men sort of the pass for doing any emotional labor or the household tasks or chores or things like that, right? So we have to back this up so far. And I do the pleasure path, right? And what you get at the end of the pleasure path is pleasure-centered relationships and pleasure-centered sex. And essentially that means that this is good for everyone involved, right? The relationship benefits both people in it, or all the people in it if there's more than two. And it's how you live your life and make decisions as well, because we've been taught more, right? Bigger house, nicer cars, take the promotion. But if it's not pleasure centered, if it's not aligned with what you really want, why are we doing those things? For a title, But it's a fundamental undoing of everything that we've learned. And it starts with pleasure basics, which, even since I started doing this work, I started in a group at my clinic in 2019 where I was just getting my patients together to talk about this, that we're all experiencing anhedonia. And it was because I was sort of investigating at that point and doing my research into why is this happening and why do they all feel the same way? I had no idea what super traits were. I had no idea about their nervous systems and pleasure centers being off. But these like pleasure and health basics, we need that as a foundation. And that's come a long way, even since, like, especially since I started my naturopathic career and even now, because information is way more accessible on the internet, right? Hormone health, sex
Yes.
education,
Mhm.
sex toys, like everything has come such a far way since I started this, which is amazing. And I think even Goop, like when they did that documentary about women's pleasure, it started changing the conversation and making it way less taboo, because at the beginning, that's where I was starting and that's what I was talking about. But I feel like we've come a long way. And then the next step is pleasure beliefs. Like, we really have to fundamentally shift that belief that I am only worthy of love based on what I give others and if I make others happy, to where my client can center herself and her feelings and her desires and her pleasure. But it's not an easy task when we've been so conditioned to do the opposite our whole lives. So, and like we talked about, how what's going on in the bedroom is a mirror of what's outside of the bedroom. So
Right.
we start, exploring desires and doing all these basics, because even that still is a little taboo. We don't know. A lot of my clients come to me, they don't know what they like. They don't know
Right.
what
They don't
kink
even know what
is.
turns them on.
They
Have
don't
never
know
really
how they
explored
like
that.
to be touched. They're literally just doing what I've called checkbox sex, right? On a Friday night, you're kissing, there's some oral, there's some penetration, probably he orgasms, maybe she does if they're lucky. And then the next Friday night, they do the same thing. It's just that, or you could call it duty sex, whatever. But my clients, we like a checklist, we like a to-do list. So it's just that we're just ticking the box, and it's sad that pleasure isn't an exploration, or sometimes she even needs permission for self pleasure. And it's like, if you don't know how you like to be touched, how does your partner know? And that's something that, because of the way that we have been conditioned as women, like, that's unfair of us to put on our partners also, where, if he's has to initiate and he's picking the positions and all of that, and there's no reciprocation there, that doesn't feel great either.
On the
He
other
gets
side.
exhausted, yeah,
Absolutely.
from that.
Right.
So but then we know what we want. We've done a little exploration with ourselves, maybe reading some books, watching some porn, and it's like, okay, like, I'm kind of figuring out what turns me on, but then asking for it.
Yes.
That's like, oh my goodness, how am I going to do this? Because you're centered around your partner, where you don't want to hurt his feelings or his ego. And then you don't say anything, so you're just tolerating it.
Yes. I
And
think that, yeah, continue. Sorry.
that's a massive problem. And that's our ownership, right? As the person, the overfunctioner with super traits. If we are putting their feelings and their comfort above our own, and we're literally removing ourselves from the equation, that's not intimacy. We remove all relational interaction. And that point, it's more like mother child, or where we're more concerned about their feelings than our own. It's not equal, it's not pleasure centered. So a lot of the work that I'm having clients do is centering themselves or centering pleasure, because sometimes even centering themselves is too hard, but they can meet their partner somewhere where mutual pleasure is the goal. And if she's not having pleasure, then it's a problem.
Massive problem. And, we're talking about in relationships, right? And I think this is being really talked about a lot. And there's been a lot of studies. I don't have the stats on these studies, but, many studies are showing that marriages often work for men much more than they do for women. They fail women, right? The relationship. And so why is that?
Oh, yeah. This is my second book that I'm currently writing right now.
Okay. I love it, because seriously, like, the patriarchy really does suck us dry, right? And I didn't finish telling you about the reel that I had seen the other day, where, because if you are a bitch, right, or you center yourself, okay, let's just put it that way. If you're centering yourself, you're not going to have the propensity to develop all of these, diseases, all of these autoimmune diseases, because all of that, when you are not allowing your emotions and you're not saying the things that you need to say in a relationship, and you're holding all of that in, all of that emotional baggage gets trapped inside our bodies and causes disease. And so it is so important to really speak our truth. So I would love to hear your take on why marriages in heterosexual relationships, tend to help the man in their life, but yet the women are sort of, losing, not just being more susceptible to disease, et cetera, but also taking away years of their life, okay, expectancy.
Right. So yes, it takes away women's life expectancy and adds to men's.
Exactly. Let's talk about that, because
there are some equal partnerships where both people feel very enriched by the relationship. So
that is the goal.
I'm not saying
that is the goal.
That is the goal. So, and I'm not saying that this is in all situations.
That it doesn't exist. It absolutely does. However, many times it doesn't. And this is the result, is that we are losing years of our life.
We are. And I cannot remember who did this study, because this is in my book that I'm writing as well. But being in a partnership with a man is like having 7 hours extra of work per week.
Yes.
So, and think about that. So just add 7 hours to your work week every week.
That's a whole nother
times that up over years, right? And then you wonder. So it's heterosexual marriages are a patriarchal construct, and they are designed to extract from women. That's emotional labor, that's household labor, that's childcare, all of which is unacknowledged and not valued. Okay. So and I've had a part of one of the exercises that I have clients do is like an equity audit to see.
Okay.
And sometimes they're happy that they're like, oh, this is better than I thought. Maybe I'm being a little too high expectations. But a lot of times they're reading this stuff and going, ooh, like, no wonder I feel the way I feel, because I am giving way more. And when we quantify it in that way, and I call like heterosexual marriages and without, right, when they're not pleasure centered, when they're just standard, it's where I enter it with my baggage and gender roles, and you enter it with your baggage and gender roles. And usually it's okay. And then we add children into the mix, but then the invisible labor and workload for the woman is extreme, especially when the children are young. And then that's sort of when the wheels start to fall off. And it's because it's designed to be invisible, then when we're bringing it up to our partner, sometimes the way that they're reacting, and it's predictable, they react from a patriarchal playbook, which is to devalue, to minimize, to play the victim, to, do you guys talk about any of this? Like Darvo, do you guys talk about any of these tactics on?
I haven't yet. No, I would love for you to talk as much as you want about it, but
that's what comes up when you go to have these conversations.
Right.
Because men are conditioned to extract from and have, and women are conditioned to give and not question it. But then when we stand there and question it, men that have grown up thinking that these things are my right, my access to your body for sex, the fact that you do the majority of the childcare, the fact that the woman does the emotional management of the household. So the household is centered around his moods. That's exhausting. And do you wonder why that woman doesn't want to have sex?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
If 50% of women have sexual dysfunction, and I think that's underreported personally, then what part of that is from a relational imbalance that just exists because of patriarchy?
Right.
And these invisible contracts, these invisible gender roles that we just sort of end up falling
Taking
into.
on. Right.
Which is extractive for the woman. And then if you have a woman with super traits, a woman that feels like it is her job to please and it is her job to give, and she's only entitled to receive once everyone else is happy, then even getting her to have those conversations doesn't go well. And I've honestly been working with men a lot more, which is really weird, but they're sort of going, oh, like I'm doing this to my wife. And now they're seeing their role that they've played in creating this imbalance because of entitlement.
That gives me hope though, because, and I'm seeing much more of this where men are pointing out the imbalances and what they should be doing, and maybe those are just the people that I tend to follow on Instagram, right? The men that are actually doing the things that they should be doing, right? And it does give me hope that, men can learn and can understand that what, the patriarchal system has done up until this point has been bringing us down, and there needs to be a better balance in so many different ways, right? And I heard somewhere it being said, and I'm sure that this is a statistic too that that is out there. I just don't know the exact number, but I believe that it was something around $180,000 to $185,000 is what a woman does in her home in invisible labor that's not being paid to her for all of the things, right? Go ahead.
I have my clients calculate it based on those studies, and my clients who are generally educated, work outside the home, I have them do it based on their dollar an hour figure.
Right.
For certain things, like for their emotional labor and stuff, for like house cleaning, we calculate it based on like what's an average house cleaner in your area. But it's about $250,000 like 250 to 350,000 annually for my clients. Annually.
Because these are ladies that have the super traits, right? And so they probably can do the work of multiple people, right? So that makes total sense.
Exactly.
But
and so they're adding to the family system and to the relationship to the tune of 250,000 to 350,000 a year. And it is unacknowledged, generally underappreciated. And then she's exhausted. Her pleasure centers are turned off. And she's like, don't touch me. Like, I don't want to have sex with you. And she can't even sometimes necessarily name why she feels broken and exhausted. Right. And then it's like, this was by design. This was no one's fault. This was the system's fault. This is the patriarchy's fault. It was meant to extract from women. And we can even look at it in the bedroom. So when we think about sex and sex education, or the lack of sex education, we talk about penis and vagina equals sex. So like the way that most penis owners find sex pleasurable is penetration. Therefore, like that's what the world thinks sex is. And
that is not the way women orgasm, which is why I love talking about the orgasm gap. Absolutely.
And that the orgasm gap is part sexual health education, and like even just about the clitoris, and how for medical schools and OB gynecologist education programs, a lot of them don't even have clitoris as part of their curriculum, and they're not learning about it. And there was a new
the whole
study.
System is set up for us to not be getting the pleasure that we need. So we need to really look at, and I think that's why it's so important, the work that you do and your podcast, and really bringing this information out into the world, and the work that I do as well. I mean, we are doing the work of spreading the message to women that they do need to center their pleasure. Do you want to just speak on that? Because I do want to get to our role play.
that is the main thing. That's my main message to women, is centering our pleasure, like pleasure-centered life, relationships, health. That's I think how we heal not only ourselves and our health, our relationship systems, family systems, but it's also how we heal some of the bigger issues that we see in the world out there now. And I do want to let them all know that it's okay if this is hard and you don't know where to start, because, and maybe we could talk about this in part 2, but there are systems that work against us, or there's like sexual coercion. There's all these things that can happen when we try to say no, when we try to set a boundary and it doesn't work, or just like, oh, go have a night out with your girlfriends. But then it's harder when you come back because the house is a disaster. The kids aren't taken care of. Like if it's not as easy as it's making it, the internet makes it look, to say no, there's so much at play going on with us and our super traits, and generally in the power dynamics of a relationship with a woman with super traits. So that's what I talk about on my podcast, and my blog and my Substack. So there's a lot to learn, but it's possible. And don't feel shame, don't feel bad, like it's your fault. You've just been given the wrong map for a person with super traits trying to correct this.
Absolutely. If that is you out there and you're listening and you can relate to this conversation, definitely check out her all of the things, her podcast and her blog, etc., because she seems to really have a lot of expertise in this area. And I think that a lot of women are suffering in this way and really need some guidance. Let's get into our role play, because we are running out of time. We have been chatting, and we could do like 10 episodes back to back right now. Seriously, there's so many things that we could talk about. But I definitely want to jump into the role play now. So this season, we've been talking about things that we want to introduce into the bedroom, right? And so we have an idea of what we're going to talk about. I'm going to not say what that is at this point, but you remember what it was, right? Okay, good, perfect. So any questions before we get started?
No, do you want me to start?
Yeah, so you can start, but I'm just going to say action first. So are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And action.
Ladies, whether you are just starting your menopause journey or well into it and have questions about hormone replacement therapy, you're not alone. Many women experience vaginal dryness, decreased sensitivity, and urinary incontinence, like leaking when you sneeze, laugh, or exercise. These symptoms can be frustrating and limiting, but they are also very treatable. I experienced this myself and decided to try Parlor Game's topical estrogen and progesterone creams. Within 1 month of consistent use, my incontinence completely resolved. Topical estrogen helps restore tissue health, improve sensitivity, and support bladder control, while topical progesterone supports hormonal balance. If you are ready to stop suffering in silence, check the show notes for the link to Silky Peach, the topical estrogen cream, and Vibrant Third, the topical progesterone cream. I feel relieved and confident again, and I know you can too. If you've ever wished sex could feel more connected, more intense, or honestly just more fun, you need to check out Shameless Care. They're a telemedicine company built entirely around sexual health, real doctors, real prescriptions, and products that actually work. Like Shameless Chemistry, their oxytocin plus tadalafil blend that deepens connection and boosts arousal. Or Shamelessly Aroused, a topical cream with the active ingredient found in men's ED medication, increasing blood flow exactly where it counts. Every order includes a short video introduction from your doctor, transparent pricing, and no subscriptions ever. Just real, sex-positive healthcare that delivers results. Because you're a Please Me listener, you can use coupon code PLEASEME for $15 off your order of any product on the Shameless Care website. Use the code PLEASEME, that's PLEASEME, at checkout to claim your $15 off. Again, that's shamelesscare.com, code PLEASEME. Because great sex shouldn't be complicated. It should be shameless. This episode is sponsored by Shameless Care.
Eczema is unpredictable, but you can flare less with Ebglyss, a once-monthly treatment for moderate to severe eczema. After an initial 4-month or longer dosing phase, about 4 in 10 people taking Ebglyss achieved itch relief and clear or almost clear skin at 16 weeks. And most of those people maintain skin that's still more clear at 1 year with monthly dosing.
Ebglyss, lebrikizumab LBKZ, a 250 milligram per 2 milliliter injection, is a prescription medicine used to treat adults and children 12 years of age and older who weigh at least 88 pounds or 40 kilograms with moderate to severe eczema, also called atopic dermatitis, that is not well controlled with prescription therapies used on the skin or topicals, or who cannot use topical therapies. Ebglyss can be used with or without topical corticosteroids. Don't use if you're allergic to Ebglyss. Allergic reactions can occur that can be severe. Eye problems can occur. Tell your doctor if you have new or worsening eye problems. You should not receive a live vaccine when treated with Ebglyss. Before starting Ebglyss, tell your doctor if you have a parasitic infection.
Ask your doctor about Ebglyss and visit ebglyss.lilly.com or call 1-800-LILY-RX or 1-800-545-5979.
It's Mushrooms with me, Maddie Matheson. You know what's better than thinking about dinner too hard? Not. Stop that and just choose mushrooms. 5 minutes. Done. Dinner's that easy and you feel like a genius. It's not magic, it's mushrooms. Stop stressing at mushroomcouncil.com.
So I've been thinking, and I think it would be a lot of fun for me. I think it would really turn me on if we could focus on my pleasure. What do you think?
Okay, I would love to know exactly what you mean by that, because I feel like, I do give you oral, and so I'd love to know like what more you want outside of that.
I want to feel chosen. I want to feel like my pleasure and my orgasm is the most important thing to you. So I was thinking we could tomorrow night set the timer for 30 minutes and you can start exploring my body and we can start focusing on the areas that bring me the most pleasure.
Okay, so it could be like an exploration of like your body top to bottom, which I don't think we've ever really done before. And I think I should know these things about you at this point, right? I really feel like I should know like what areas bring you pleasure. And it's not an exercise we've actually ever done, right? I mean, do you remember ever doing something like this with me?
No, I don't think we have. I think we kind of default to the things that we know work to have us both have an orgasm, but I'd like to take our time, or you take your time on my body and see the different types of touch and the different areas that feel good.
Well, I love the idea of setting a time so that we can like sort of have that time to ourselves. But to me, it seems like half an hour is not enough. Do you think we can maybe schedule a little bit longer? Do you think that that would be something that you would have time for, that we could make time for?
I'd love to schedule a longer time. I wanted it to be a shorter time because I was worried you weren't going to say yes.
Well, I really want us to have an improved sex life, right? And it's something that we've sort of been struggling with. And, if we don't make the time for it, it's never really going to improve. So I'm really proud of you for asking for what you want. I know that that's not always easy for you. So I want to give this as much attention as I think it deserves. And so could we maybe do 2 hours? Do you think we could schedule 2 hours to sort of just be together? We don't have to, do anything specific. I just really want to take the time and explore.
I would love that. And if I'm honest, 2 hours feels like a long time. I don't know if I can relax for 2 hours and focus on my pleasure, but I know that's what I need to do. And I know that's what will improve our sex life. So I appreciate you listening and suggesting it. And I would love to try 2 hours and see where it goes.
Okay. Well, thank you for, thinking about maybe expanding the time, because I do feel like this is worth putting time into, and not just tomorrow, but really going forward. I feel like we do need to make time for ourselves, even if it's, getting massages or, scheduling time for more dates where we're not with the kids and, just the two of us really focusing on ourselves. Maybe, taking a night, and going to a hotel, just the two of us, and just having a babysitter or something where we are really focusing on ourselves, because we haven't done that in our relationship.
I would love that. And if you could plan the date from start to finish, I would feel so cared for. And I would absolutely love that.
Well, I'm starting to get a vibe here that you are really wanting to sort of sit back, relax, and experience pleasure and sort of be the pillow princess for the day. And you deserve that. So I want to give that to you.
Thank you. And I find I'm just default to what makes you feel good. And I really want to explore what just being pleasured feels like to me.
Well,
So
I
thank
definitely
you
think
for honoring this desire.
absolutely. And as desires creep up, I want to hear what they are, because I know for me, I always have different thoughts and desires in my mind that I may not share with you. And I know that they are different and varied and, sometimes novel. And sometimes I'm a little embarrassed or shy or even like feel ashamed to have these desires. But I think that they're just natural, and we should be able to share these with one another, even if it's something that maybe is completely out of the box and not something that you're interested in trying. I still want to be able to have that experience of being able to tell you what they are, because you are my partner, and who else would I tell?
I'd love it if you would share those with me. And this was really a hard conversation for me to have. I thought about saying it a couple times and I didn't because I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but I'm happy that I did. And I feel so much closer to you having this conversation. So please share those desires with me. And I'd like to talk about them in the future.
Yes, and vice versa, because I know if my mind is coming up with different desires, you must have them too. And this one particularly is something that I am very interested in exploring with you. So I can't wait till tomorrow night.
I can't wait to be the pillow princess.
Perfect. And scene. That was great. And, you know, what this is all about is modeling conversations for people, how these things can actually go, right? And, you know, maybe on the other side of something like this, you'll have somebody that won't be as receptive, right? So that's a possibility too. And, you know, for that,
we need to do that one on part 2 is
okay.
How do you do it when it doesn't go to plan?
Right. Okay. Well, deal. We will definitely do that on part 2. So with all that being said, I want to make sure that my listeners can find you. Where can we find you?
On Instagram at Dr. Jordan Wiggins. I just started a Substack, The Pleasure Path, where I'm going to be sharing a lot of the resources and tools that I use with my clients, and my podcast, the Pleasure Principles podcast.
Okay. I meant to do this before, but I will definitely include all of that information in the show notes, but I just wrote the Substack, The Pleasure Path, so check that out. And all of her information is going to be in the show notes so that you can find her and listen to her podcast and find her book. So definitely check that out. And again, you can always find me on pleaseme.online. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to talk about my 30-day pleasure practices, pleasure and body reconnection practices, because it sounds like a lot of the people that you speak to for your podcast, your main audience is really trying to get that self, pleasure going. And so I have a 30-day pleasure practices giveaway. So if you'd like to go to pleaseme.online, you can find it there and it'll go directly to your email, and you can have a list of 30 days of pleasure ideas to sort of get in touch with your body again. So with all of that being said, thank you. I want to thank you so much for being on the show, Dr. Jordan. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you for having me, Eve.
Until next time, everyone.
Are you looking for a sexy date? Look no further than SDC.com. SDC.com is the premier ethically non-monogamous website that is worldwide. It also hosts a wealth of information on sexuality and sexual health, and I host a free live webinar monthly on the site. You can use code 37340 for a free trial membership on me, and be sure to reach out on the site and say hello.
I want to personally invite you to join me on Patreon for ad-free listening, bonus episodes, and early releases. Already there is a lot of bonus content on there with many webinars that I've done in the past and a show that I've never released to the public before. My show is completely self-funded, and when you are able to support me in this way, I'm able to spread my message of body positivity, self-love, and women's empowerment, and empowerment in general around sexuality around the globe. And so with that being said, I appreciate everyone who has already joined Patreon. And if you
Struggling with weight loss? Prolon's 5-day fasting mimicking diet is a clinically developed nutrition program designed to promote fat loss while protecting lean body mass. Developed at USC's Longevity Institute, it assists the body in entering a fasting-like state that helps reset metabolism and target visceral fat. In just 5 days, Prolon offers a science-backed approach to weight loss without extreme restriction or guesswork. Get 15% off plus a $40 bonus gift when you subscribe at prolonlife.com/now.
Stitch Fix. Shopping is hard. Let's talk about it.
I don't have time to shop for clothes.
I have to buy everything in 3 sizes to find one that fits. They know me at the post office.
Workout wear is my only wear.
Stitch Fix makes shopping easy. Just show your size, style, and budget, and your stylist sends personalized looks right to your door. No subscription required, plus free shipping and returns.
Oh, wow, that was easy.
Stitch Fix, online personal styling for everyone. Take your style quiz today at stitchfix.com.
you've thought about joining, now's your nudge to do so.